Media Melanie Talks TV. I'm Melanie, and I am back to talk about School Spirits Season 2. I've got a theory video coming in hot after Episode 4, A Walk In to Remember. Something pretty big happened at the end of this episode. I thought we were going to get another ghost here at Split River High School. However, after our spirit crew investigates and they do not find any bodies, it turns out Mr. Martin is probably possessing somebody's body and using that skin suit to go out and track down Janet, who is inhabiting Maddie's body. And now we know that Maddie is back home. So Janet is living Maddie's life, pretending to be her. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Martin is going to try and find her. But whose body is Mr. Martin possessing? That's the big question here, and I've got some pretty solid candidates. Before we get into it, please go ahead, like this video, drop a comment, and tell me who you think Mr. Martin is possessing, and hit that subscribe button. I am here covering school spirits every single week with a reaction and review video and a theory video. So stick with me all season long. I have a feeling we are in for some twists and cliffhangers just like we got in season 1. Before we dive into who I think Mr. Martin is possessing, let's talk a little bit just about the fact that he could actually be an Afterlife serial killer. Is it possible that Mr. Martin is responsible for the deaths of some of these ghosts? Could he have premeditated, come up with ideas to possess certain bodies and get more ghosts? I'm not sure the motive of that, probably to join in this strange afterlife experiment they have going. And along with that, Mr. Martin and Janet were working together on experiments. So what if they are actually collaborating and alternating with these experiments and possessing the other bodies? That would make sense, given when we saw Janet and Mr. Martin in that fallout shelter back from season 1. Mr. Martin was asking Janet these questions like, how did you feel? It was almost like they were doing a post-mortem on a recent possession. How many bodies have each one of them possessed? Are they both doing it? What does it mean when you possess a body? Are they doing it for nefarious purposes? Are they killers? Another question I had too, which I may get into in a different theory video, is something seems different about the type of ghost that Janet is. Her stuff doesn't reset the same as the other ghosts. I keep circling back to that fire. Was it suicide? Is there a difference in a ghost who gets killed or one who kills themselves by their own hand and dies by suicide? If that's the case, that would explain a lot about these types of experiments and maybe why things do seem different for Janet as a ghost than some of the others. Now, maybe it's because she doesn't have her key, although I assumed that watch Mr. Martin gave to Janet at the sock hop party was the key, but was it Janet's watch? Something I saw on Reddit was that perhaps it was actually her dad's watch. And there's some sort of connection with her dad's death and her death. I'm not sure exactly how those dots connect yet, but I also saw another theory that potentially Janet is Mr. Martin's key, which spawned him to go after her, because otherwise that would mean Mr. Martin's spirit is trapped there forever. And if she is his key, and maybe he's her key, that could be part of the motivation behind this experimentation in the first place. The name Split River High School in general does give an immediate meaning of duality, a split of some sort. Could Split River High School actually be a portal to hell? We have all of these different hellscapes going on here. Could the portal have opened when the fire was set? If Janet did set the fire on purpose, did that open up some sort of portal to hell to keep this purgatory situation going at this Split River High School? And something I mentioned in my first review from episodes 1 through 3, the River Styx. Could Mr. Martin be the Karen of River Styx, ushering these spirits into the other side, whether he's actually killing them or not? Is he a vessel for the ghosts at Split River High School? I'm not exactly sure, but let's talk more about why we're here right now, trying to figure out where exactly Mr. Martin even is right now and whose body he is in fact possessing. Charlie went to relive his trauma and hellscape with the peanut allergy, and interestingly enough, he saw Mr. Martin there. He chases him to the field. He's not able to catch him. Now that we know Mr. Martin is able to enter their scars, their hellscapes, their traumas, I've got a lot of questions about that in general. For instance, could the obituaries that he has had each of these students write be the keys that he is using in order to access these trauma points and relive their deaths? I do think there's something with the obituaries, and perhaps that could be the connection right there. A big theme of this episode was the senior togetherness day, and the spirits even alluded to this, to the fact that some of these students are going through an emotional time. They are essentially ripe for the skin suit pickin'. It's the perfect opportunity for Mr. Martin to be able to inhabit and possess one of these bodies. And again, I'm not sure if he knew that that was the case before, or if it was an eye-opener once it happened with Maddie, and that made him realize, oh, okay, I can go and do this for vulnerable students. Senior Togetherness Day seems like the perfect time to do that. We also did have Wally trying to go and find Mr. Martin in his hellscape. He also was unable to. It's interesting, though, because if we are talking about Mr. Martin being an Afterlife serial killer, who could he have actually killed? Could he have possessed Mr. Manfredo's body and been the one to actually kill Rhonda? Could he have inhabited one of the other football players or even Wally's body somehow and played into the fact that his neck broke and somehow made that happen? We know he didn't kill Maddie because Maddie's not dead, but the fact that Charlie saw him in his hellscape, could he have somehow been a part of Charlie's death with the peanut allergy situation? I'm not ruling out Mr. Martin as a killer, and still we don't know exactly what happened to Yuri. We can rule out Quinn because she was killed in the band accident, but who knows? Maybe Yuri isn't leaving because Mr. Martin was his killer and he is afraid of him. It's possible. And Mr. Martin could have killed the girl from the theater. Maybe he loosened the lights. Yeah, he didn't kill Dawn. We saw that happen. But I am not giving up on the fact that Mr. Martin could, in fact, be contributing to these students' deaths. TBD if Janet is part of that or not. She could be. They're conducting experiments together, and maybe this is all a big part of it. And again, we're still walking this line of really figuring out who is the bad guy or not. Maybe Mr. Martin locked Janet down there to protect the group. Or because Janet is Mr. Martin's key and he did not want her to escape until the experiments were done. I keep going back to it, folks. But again, back to the whole reason we are here in terms of who is Mr. Martin inhabiting. Let's go through the clues. If we pay attention to the camera work in that last scene, the principal and whoever he's walking next to, I assume a teacher, are the first ones shown. Could it be the principal? Seems like every single person that they had a close-up on could be a contender. The first one seems like they're just introducing it to throw us off. So, could it be the principal? Does he need an adult's body to be able to go and operate in the world in a way where he can actually get things done? The principal wasn't necessarily emotionally vulnerable at this time, and it would also be strange for the principal to show up at Maddie's house, although maybe not, because now it's out there that Maddie's home, so it wouldn't be completely off base, but I'm not sold on the principal. If we're looking at some potential emotionally vulnerable teens here, Claire definitely fits the bill with everything that's been going on between her mom and dad. Yes, she may as well hang a vacancy sign there and just let Mr. Martin in. The way the camera focuses in on her as she's in the back seat of the car, Claire would be the perfect vessel because that would give Mr. Martin an opportunity to go and interact with Maddie/Janet. I don't think it is Nicole, Simon, or Xavier, just given the way that they were interacting towards the end there, although there was not much time between the whole lighting going out situation and them having the scene where Nicole lets everybody know that Maddie is home. And if Nicole was the one possessed, she wouldn't have had that information in the first place, so I am putting an X through Xavier, Nicole, and Simon. I just don't think it's them. Which brings me to the next contender, Chloe. Why else would they be introducing this character, giving her all of this screen time, unless it's a red herring to make us think Mr. Martin could be possessing her? She makes a comment as she's walking out of the school after Senior Togetherness Day and says something like, "Oh, I got a lot out of it. Oh, Did you, Chloe? Because you don't seem like the type that's coming out of there with your eyes wide open after making some personal revelations. I don't think so. She is very bitter towards Claire for ditching her. Claire is latching onto Maddie's group of friends because, yeah, she wants to believe that Maddie is alive. She's having all of these different regrets. And by all accounts, it seems to me like they are making us think that Mr. Martin is occupying Claire. Between the camera work, her emotional state right now, everything that's going on in her life. But I think they are tricking us. And you know what? I don't really know that it's Chloe either. I think this is just another convenient red herring to throw us off the track. It is interesting, though, that they would give her all of this screen time and part of Claire's story for no reason. They're doing just a fine job telling Claire's story and showing us the anguish that she's going through, and really did not need Chloe in there at all. I mean, yeah, there were a couple moments in the activities that they were doing that showed Claire to maybe not be a great person, but why would they have Mr. Martin inside of a character who we really don't know and essentially are just meeting more for the first time? So Chloe, I don't think it's you either. Bringing me to my prime suspect, which I think makes the most sense. If I'm putting money on it, I think Mr. Martin is inhabiting Mr. Anderson. Why else would they bring the teacher back for the second season? They're making us think that it's because of the potential romantic storyline between him and Sandra. His story has pretty much already been told, though, so I don't know why they would bring him back to the school. He, of course, is the disgraced teacher that stole money surrounding these devil patches and jacket uniforms back from season 1. So yeah, he lost his job. He's a disgraced teacher. He's back there collecting his belongings. But there's a couple of coincidental things. Mr. Martin seemed to have been near Mr. Anderson's classroom a couple of times. So we've got the proximity there. For me, it also makes sense that he would want to inhabit an adult's body, especially an adult that coincidentally has access to Sandra Nears right now. So it would be very logical for him to go over to Maddie's house and have a conversation with him. Maddie and Mr. Anderson were very, very close, which also makes me think that if Mr. Anderson does go and talk to Maddie, he will probably know it's not her. I mean, they had a pretty substantial and solid teacher-student relationship. Mr. Anderson had helped Maddie get out of trouble before when her mom was drinking and drove into a tree. So he's got Maddie's best interest at heart. So if it is Mr. Anderson, that is going to be interesting. And if we're looking at the emotional vulnerability of it all, Mr. Anderson's in a bad headspace. He's there collecting his belongings, and he is a disgraced teacher. That was his profession. That was his livelihood. And now he doesn't have a job. So if we're looking at all of the clues at once, the emotional vulnerability of it all, the fact that he had a relationship with Maddie and could get close to her mom, the fact that he's an adult and it would make Mr. Martin possessing his body and moving through the world much easier than being a teenager, and less people to really suspect as well, because if it is any of the teens, the friends and parents are probably going to be like, hey, what's going on here? But the other reason is Mr. Anderson's the only one they didn't show when they were doing that little montage at the end of episode 4. They showed us the principal. They showed us Chloe. They showed us Claire. They showed us the friends. They did not show us Mr. Anderson, and I think that was on purpose to throw us off the track. But school spirits, I am on to you. I think Mr. Martin is 100% in Mr. Anderson's body right now. I think he is going to head straight to the Nears house. But I just don't think they would have brought Mr. Anderson back for simply a potential relationship with Maddie's mom. I think Mr. Martin is in his body. How does this play out in terms of Maddie and Mr. Anderson's body? I mean, are they going to be able to get them back? Is this going to be a whole situation where they have to relive the death map with the keys and access points and relive the hellscape traumas like all at one time to open up this portal and get things back to the way that they should be and instill a sense of normalcy back in the world, because things are pretty messed up right now. We've got people inhabiting other people's bodies. How does that get fixed? But the most interesting part about this is if we have Janet inhabiting Maddie's body and we have Mr. Martin inhabiting Mr. Anderson's body, are they going to get together and run away together? Or is Mr. Anderson / Mr. Martin going to try to bring Maddie back to the school to make the switch happen again? If Janet is Mr. Martin's key, then his mission will be to return her to Split River High School. If not, could they be running away together in these skin suits and living happily ever after as Janet and Mr. Martin out in this present day world that they haven't been a part of for decades? No matter the direction it goes, it's gonna be interesting, and I am so here for this ride. So I would love it if you go ahead and like this video, and please drop a comment. Tell me, do you think I'm onto something? Am I totally off base? Am I completely missing a suspect that I didn't think of? Where do we think Mr. Martin is right now? I will be back again next week to cover School Spirits for episode 5 with a review and a theory video just like this one. So make sure you are subscribed. I do cover a lot of other dark TV shows as well, including Severance on Apple TV+, Dexter Original Sin, also here on Paramount+, Hunting Party on NBC, Paradise on Hulu, and The White Lotus is dropping on Max this month, and I will be here for that as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I'll be back soon. Media Melanie, clicking off.